Good afternoon, good day, wherever you are. We hope you're having a great time. This is an odd time for us. It is 4 p.m. Pacific time. And welcome to eLearnChat. I'm Rick Zanotti, and next to me right there is Dawn Mahoney. Hey, Dawn, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. I'm glad to see you.
Now you're in some witness protection program in a hidden hotel somewhere. Is that correct?
Yes, in an undisclosed location.
In an undisclosed location. We have to watch where she is. We don't know where we're trying to geo-track her, but no luck yet. Actually, Dawn was kind enough to join us late today because she is on the road. What city are you in actually today?
I am in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Raleigh, that's beautiful.
And before we did the show, I had 2 quick glasses of wine with Jane Bozarth and David, and I don't know how to pronounce his last name, so that's very rude. He's probably going to watch the video of this, but a fellow Wisconsinite. So.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
And we have a guest today. Shall we introduce our guest? Would you like to introduce our guest?
I would like to introduce our guest. Meg is with us, and I call her a sister from another mother because we have such similar backgrounds, and every time we're on Skype and chatting with each other, we find out something else we have in common. So I'm going to introduce her as my sister, Meg.
So this is Meg Bertapelle.
Bertapelle.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Meg, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you guys doing?
Good. I'm glad you could join us.
Me too.
Well, I hope you joined us. This is your time. So, yeah, Meg, we did the show. We did the show late.
8 a.m.
Yeah, we did the show late for Meg because she had to pick up her kids and take them in the morning. So that would actually interrupt with, is it 1 kid or 2 kids?
Just the one.
Just one.
Although I have a dog too. I have to take him to daycare too.
Well, the dogs
are
permanent kids, but we have 2 dogs. They don't go to daycare.
Well, when there's 2 of them, then it's okay.
That's true. Less separation anxiety.
Yeah. He eats door frames. It's not fun.
Oh, no. Oh, that was our female. She destroyed everything in our house. I think $20,000 worth of damage later.
Oh, my gosh.
But she's still with us. Now she's old. She doesn't destroy that much. She's older now.
Good. I was going to say, is that a good thing that she's still with you?
Yeah. No, she's sweet. She's a doll. She's just a destructive doll.
Right.
Well, anyway, today you're going to talk a little bit about visual graphics, right? Or the impact of visual graphics, correct?
Right. I'm happy to talk about anything about that because I'm very passionate about it. We came up with the topic because actually Colleen and Dawn and Diane and a bunch of other people were sitting around having drinks and snacks at ASTD ICE in Denver, and we were just kind of trying to decide what would be a good topic, and Colleen said, what do you lose track of time doing? And that is what I totally lose track of time.
You know, that's such a truth because once you get into graphics, it's so easy to just forget time.
Yes.
You start getting into it, and the other thing is you forget to blink.
Yeah, yesterday I really noticed that problem.
Dry eyes are us. I notice if I wear contacts and I'm doing graphics for a lot, my eyes get really dry. Then I realize, I haven't blinked in about an hour. That's not good.
That's not good for you.
No, not a good thing. But anyway, it is true. Graphics are so important. Now, Meg, unfortunately, we don't have our lower thirds working. You work, is your company called Da Vinci? Or is that the product?
The company is actually called Intuitive Surgical.
Okay.
We make the Da Vinci surgical system, and it is a robotic-assisted, minimally invasive surgical system.
It's interesting. And I know somebody who recently had surgery using the Da Vinci machine and blown away within a month of a major surgery, back to normal, perfectly healthy. That is one cool machine. I guess
really awesome.
I guess the whole thing is minimal blood loss, minimal invasiveness, and that's great. That is absolutely great. And are you doing training on teaching doctors, for example, how to use the machine? Is that one of the things you do?
Yeah, that's one of the things I work on. I typically do e-learning. Sometimes I do documents and things like that, but mostly things that are accessible via the web for both surgeons and OR staff, and as well our sales force. So our sales force, the clinical sales representative actually teaches the surgeon and the OR staff the basics of how to use the system, and then they go to additional trainings and do practice things in labs and all kinds of stuff. There's a whole training pathway on how to learn how to use the system. But it's really fun, and it's great because I feel like what I'm doing is actually ultimately helping people. I mean, it's contributing at least, maybe not directly, but
well, yeah, because there's
good.
so many quack doctors out there. You want to make sure they know how to use this stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You want a good surgeon.
I don't think we've got any quack doctors, though.
No, you've got to be pretty good at that. I'm curious. Now, do you find that people who learn how to use this instrument, for example, is Da Vinci is just one of your products? You have a lot of other products, too?
We have several platforms, and there are specialized instruments called Endurist instruments that are used on the system. But overall, the product is the Da Vinci surgical system.
Now, do you find that doctors who use these are basically robots, aren't they? They're surgical robots?
Yes. It's not autonomous, though. So
Right.
the surgeon is holding on to what we call master controllers, and they move their hands as if they were actually doing open surgery, which is a much more natural movement.
Yes.
And then the
Interesting.
patient side cart replicates those movements, scaled way down, very, very small, and actually eliminates hand tremor as well. So
Fascinating.
if you had too much coffee in the morning and you're doing a surgery right away, you'll still be okay, even though your movements are going to be very, very small.
So it's just like image stabilization on a camera.
Yes.
Same
Something
idea.
like that.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, they get a 3D visualization, like similar to what they would in an open surgery, and they also get 5, I think, levels of digital zoom.
Is that amazing?
So you get lots of really great vision.
Now, what I find interesting is, or do you find that doctors tend to also be gamers? You almost have to be a gamer to do this, or have at least the same kind of skill set.
It's really not a difficult interface at all. I mean, really what they're doing is they're looking at the surgery, and they practice a lot. So we also have a simulator that helps you practice kind of surgical skills on the system, but they do a lot of real-time practice, in labs and on that simulator, and it's very natural, I think, for surgeons who've been an open surgeon, because they get to move their hands the way they would if they were holding standard surgical instruments.
That's amazing. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. I like it a lot.
Dawn, any questions in the chat room yet?
There are. We have a couple questions already. So Tricia asked the question of Meg, how do you begin to choose visual images and graphics for your design? Do you create them from scratch? Do you have a repository? But then also I inserted, and she wholeheartedly agreed, about the discussion on color scheme and how you pull that together. And maybe you have standards.
Right. I do have some standards here at Intuitive. We have different procedures are kind of color-coded with our marketing materials, and so I have that to sort of start with. But I actually grew up, my mom is a graphic designer, or was a graphic designer, and so when I was a kid, I kind of just started to build this sense of what works together. And I also found this really cool tool at one point called Color Schemer Studio. And there's other tools out there that are free. This Color Schemer, you could do a free trial, I think, and then you had to pay for it. But even paint websites like Kelly Moore and things have you find a great picture and you pull the colors out of it. So you find a picture that really speaks to you in terms of color, and then you can pull the different colors out of it, and it'll give you kind of the web swatch. And then you can pull that out with Photoshop or any kind of image editing software. So if you're having trouble deciding on colors, that's one idea. You find a picture that inspires you. Or, to be honest, I think it's Austin Kleon who did the book Steal Like an Artist just recently. You go find something that speaks to you, that you like, that looks good and has great color scheme, and use that color scheme.
I spend a lot of time on the web looking at web pages I like and how they're laid out, and to come up with a plan. And it was Color Schemer Pro?
I think it was called Color Schemer Studio, but it might have changed names now. I would just Google it.
Yeah, and Adobe,
but I think, like I said, the Paint websites do it too, so
Yeah,
you can always pull it from. Color Schemer was you pick one color and then you can kind of choose the different kinds of color schemes, like complementary or analogous or monochromatic, those kinds of things. And it will give you the colors in, I think, hex and RGB and stuff like that. So
have you seen Adobe's Kuler? That's another one that
one is really cool too. I think they even have an app, an iPad or iPhone app.
Oh, I haven't looked at their app. That's interesting.
Yeah.
And then the next question Tricia has is, for such a concrete type of subject matter, meaning very specific, I think, what do graphics and what do images mean to you, Meg? How do you choose the equipment? Do you take photos? Do you amalgamate stock images that you have and move things around, manipulate? And by the way, she loves her glasses.
Oh, thank you. They're Ray-Bans.
We have a fan club. It's a beautiful thing.
Thanks, Tricia. So I kind of consider visual communication anything on the screen. Graphics, I would consider anything non-text based. So images, illustrations, highlight boxes and arrows and clip art and all of that would be considered part of visual communication and graphics. Communication. So I know you guys have all seen a death by PowerPoint where there's 12-point font projected up on your wall, and it's hell. That
Meg,
really bad visual communication.
Meg, can I have you put your microphone down a little bit, like below your mouth, just a little bit?
Yes.
Right about there. Perfect.
Is that a little bit better?
Yeah, it's a little lower now, but I can raise your volume a little bit. What happened is it was the good old plosives.
Yes. Fun. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So anyway, we know that is bad presentation design, bad learning environment to have just full-on text. And if you're going to do that, write a document and people will read it. But you don't need to present that way. And so I think Bill Cushard, I always think of him with his Twitter avatar, but earlier kind of asked the question. Earlier he asked the question, how do I get people to stop doing that? And I don't have a good answer for that, but I do get the request a lot of times, like, hey, this is my information, help me make it beautiful.
Right.
And 99% of the time, I take about 85 to 90% of the text out, and it goes into voiceover, or it goes into discussion points for the presenter. And you really just need those slides to give a sense of what you're trying to talk about. Anders Gronstedt actually did a really nice webinar recently. I can't remember what the title of it was, but he talks about that as well, and how really what's on the screen is a visual indicator of what you're talking about, so that people remember. And it's much easier to remember when you have something to trigger that memory. If it's one word or one image or one graphic or an icon that you use on your system or anything like that, that you can sort of grab onto with your brain while you listen to the content.
So do you do photographic work and bring that into your studio work, or are you dealing basically with images that you've created?
Both. So we do take images and video of our system a lot of the time. We take images and video of our procedures that we use within our e-learning. And I use stock images and Microsoft Clip Art and work them the way, as much as I can to make them work for what I need. We don't have a big budget for that kind of stuff, so anytime if we can use a free resource, it's better. Obviously, taking our own images is not free, but we do tend to use employees for stand-ins for models and things like that when we're not creating, the beauty shots, I guess.
Oh, okay. And where would we all be without Microsoft Clip Art, really, truly?
And actually, eLearning Heroes on their website, their community, has a lot of free downloads for graphics and things that they've built. People in the community have built in PowerPoint, and actually PowerPoint's not a horrible image editor. I mean, Photoshop is obviously better, but if you're talking really down and dirty and fast, you can do a lot with PowerPoint.
It's funny. We've been using PowerPoint probably 70% of the time now and going to Photoshop 30%, whereas before we were doing 90% Photoshop, never even looked at PowerPoint, and we're finding that PowerPoint can just build so many good graphics for e-learning. They're perfect. And tools like, now what authoring tools do you use when you're building your courses?
We're using Captivate most of the time. We also use Adobe Presenter, and I'm in the midst of trying really hard to get at least one license of Articulate Storyline. I really like it. I think it's going to be a lot easier to use.
Yep, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, a lot easier to do more advanced things.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited about
interactions. It's really good for interactions.
Yeah.
It's cool.
And branching and things that,
right.
You can make the learning a little more customized without having to code, which I'm not a fan of. I'm very visual, in case you hadn't noticed. So I want it to say, click on this button and do this, not the C_XYZ that I need to know means really click box or something.
Yeah, exactly. The coding thing, yuck.
Yeah, not my favorite thing to do.
No,
of course, I'm not a Flash developer either, so I'm much more into the WYSIWYG interface.
Trish is writing that she tries to force the situation by using 30-point font or less on the screen so that it forces the visual elements to be more prevalent. And I think that's a good rule, or higher is a good rule of thumb.
You know what? One of the sad things is right now there are so many designers who seem to be stuck on gray or light blue fonts on white or gray backgrounds, and you just go, how can you read that? By the way, 6-point fonts. Let's not even play. And then if you're in a 1920 type resolution, you can't see it. It's microfiche. It's really teeny.
Right.
Drives me nuts. Of course, if you're anywhere past about 25, it can drive almost anybody nuts. It's just really small. But there's nothing worse than a gray-on-gray interface. I just don't get it. This is so common. And you go to websites, and you're seeing nothing but really bad color combinations, which proves usually it's the programmers designing, not so much the designers. I don't know. Some designers don't have any design sense, but it is
one of the templates in PowerPoint 2007 is a gray-on-gray with bright pink accent template.
Yeah, I think I've seen that one. It's there for readability, of course.
Right.
If you do it right, you can do that kind of a color scheme. You just have to be very careful about contrast. I really like when I was in school for instructional design, I went and got my master's, and they had a sort of graphics class. And even though I pretty much knew what they were talking about, they had a book that they recommended called the Non-Designer's Design Book. And I think it's Robin Williams'
author. That is a good book.
It's an excellent book.
And he's got a couple of them, I think.
By the way, can I say words here?
Sure.
Crap. Contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity.
That's
See, this is how I remember it because, it's...
that book is full of crap. It's really good.
It's great. But really, if you think of those 4 things when you're designing and you really apply them to every element, you're going to come out with a much better design.
Yeah, that's true.
And contrast is first for a reason. You need to be able to read it, and you need to be able to tell the difference between one section and another, or one topic and another, or, a heading versus body text or bullets or things like that. Designing whatever you're designing, it doesn't have to be e-learning or a presentation.
One thing that a lot of people don't take advantage of is taking pictures or video of people as they are reading, studying, learning, and watching their eye movements, watching the squinting, watching how much they're tracking all over the place. And if you do that, then you realize that your training probably sucks in most cases, or your website sucks because nobody can read it, or it's not an easy navigation. Buttons are in the wrong place.
Unless their eyes are tracking where you want them to track.
Exactly.
And then you're good.
But we've done tests with that with some of our clients where it's amazing where people's eyes go, especially if they're confused or they don't understand where something is from a navigation perspective. They're going all over the place, and the eyes are going up, they're going down, they're going sideways, and invariably they can't figure out where they are. So that's bad training or bad design at that point, because if it's not easy and intuitive, I really think the Fisher-Price approach is one of the best. Big, simple, red, blues. It's not a bad approach.
Keep it simple.
Yeah, keep it simple. Good crap, right?
Exactly. Simple crap. Actually, I squint for a reason at stuff. I squint to see what I can still read and what pops out at me first, and whether or not I have enough contrast. Because if I squint and I can't see it anymore, it doesn't have enough contrast.
Interesting. Yeah, that's true. And contrast is, I think, what's lacking a lot. Hey, Dawn?
I was going to say, there is a table out. I don't remember where I saw it, but based on the size of your monitor, you should step back so many feet. There's actually a grid available somewhere that says, for instance, if you have I don't know, what's a standard, a 15 or 17-inch monitor, you should stand back, 5 feet or something.
I think that's for a laptop, but monitors now, I think the average is about 24 to 27.
Right.
24,
and if
25,
you're going to
and
be projecting it on a large screen, then it's a different ratio versus however your users are going to be using it for e-learning. In my instance, I have people using really old computers that are one step above a 386. So I need to know where hotspots are.
That would make it a 486?
Yeah, it's bad. It's the leftover, we got it there stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Perfect for Flash. Actually, you want to see something funny? Run a Flash routine that just is recursive, just goes back and forth over and over and over. And you can watch your CPU go to 100% in no time. It's really interesting. Talk about taking up CPU time. Not good.
No, not fun.
Yeah.
Tricia says she gets a guinea pig, in quotes, probably a human guinea pig, to have them try out the e-learning without letting them know anything in advance, and just have them kind of read, let her know where they're having difficulty reading or navigating. So how's your process, Meg? Do you do something similar or on that order?
Yeah, I mean, when we're coming out with a new program, we usually pilot it. Usually with like a new hire class of the Salesforce. But we always do an internal review within our own team first, and then stakeholder review. And if anybody is confused, then we're in trouble. Even if they're not familiar with the topic that you're working on. So I mean, we have different products coming out at different times, and only a couple people may know that product inside and out. So you get somebody else from the team to take a look at it and figure out whether or not they can see or understand what you're trying to get at, and get through it, answer the questions correctly, things like that.
Right.
So that's kind of our process. I'm sorry, I missed that. Sorry.
I said, can they pass the quiz at the end? Which, like everything else in life, that's our bar.
I know. Well, it's bad, but
I think for something like what you guys do, you should just have live patients, and if they don't pass, oh well.
Well, they do. The surgeons actually do have proctor surgeons in there with them for their first cases, so they definitely have people to take advice from.
Oh, that's true.
In the beginning. They don't just rely on e-learning, for sure.
No, that's true. That's true. Hey, I've never seen one of these. What do we do?
Tomorrow's the surgery. Yay!
That's kind of what it would be.
The patient lived great.
The patient lived great. Now, can we get the robot out of him? But yeah.
Crazy.
Well, I've read about all these medical things that happen, and some of them are hilarious. Well, actually, they're not hilarious to the patient, but It's like you actually operate on the wrong side of the patient. That's not good. Yeah. And that's why nowadays all doctors, are we doing the right eye or the left eye? The big X under your cheek and things like that. It's because it's amazing how
they mark you up beforehand.
They do. They really do, just to be safe. It's like, we're having knee surgery. Okay, is it the elbow? No, the knee.
Well, they do multiple surgeries in one day, so that
it helps
them kind of keep track of where they are.
It actually makes sense.
Yeah.
It actually makes a lot of sense.
They look at the wrist bracelet, check that, ask you for your birth date or something. So
there's a lot of double checks. So a lot of things have to fail to really get it wrong, and hopefully that doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, well, if you go in for a root canal to get a vasectomy, not a good thing. But anyway,
that would be really bad. That would be a whole different doctor.
That would be totally scary. But I'll tell a really weird story. We had a guy that worked with us, and he had to go for a root canal. First time ever in his life, he had a root canal. And I said, "Is it top or bottom tooth?" He goes, "It's bottom." I go, "Oh, that's no problem. They do an analectomy." And he went, "What's that?"
What?
I said, "They actually go in from the bottom up and pull. It's actually safer and it doesn't hurt as much." And he's going, "Oh man, you're kidding." He goes into work he goes to the doctor and he says, "Are you guys doing the?" And they go, "A what?" And he's going, "I'm going to kill these guys at work." So he actually believed it. That's the scary part. Yeah, but he actually truly believed it. I went, I go, "Bill, you're a chemist. You should know better." So you gotta love it sometimes. But it's how you say. You have to be very serious.
Of course.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that. I just would crack.
I was very serious. It's like, "Oh, Bill, don't worry about it. They're going to do an analectomy and you'll be fine." It's like,
oh my goodness.
Yeah. Anyway, see, Dawn, what you got yourself into?
Hold on, you gotta do this like every week.
As long as you're not playing the Cialis song, that's a good thing.
The which one?
The song.
Which song?
The Cialis song.
Oh, Cialis song? Oh.
You just like to hear me say it, right?
When the moment's right, eLearnChat's on.
That's right. Poor Terrence. He went out with that song on his brain, I think.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, he did. Oh, well, I pulled that joke on him one time. He didn't expect it, and he just went, no, that's not me. So,
the legacy of our friend
you can only do that with a good friend.
Every time the commercial comes on TV.
Yeah, I know. It was so funny. And it was just pure coincidence. That clip was actually on a podcasting audio clip, meaning that was probably the one they used on the commercial was probably royalty free.
Royalty
So
free.
it's real interesting. And I go, wait a minute, that's the same one. I started laughing when I heard it. And I introduced him as that. I said, "Now here's our co-host," and I just put on the music, and he's going, "Wait a minute, no, that's not right. Do something else." I think that we switched the music.
And it's stuck.
Yeah. Anyway.
It's stuck.
Yeah.
So, you don't have to work real hard finding a song like that for me. I'm good.
No, that's... But anyway, so in your visual quest, if you will, what kind of design principles would you tell? I mean, the book on design for non-designers was really a really good book. I think it was it Robin Williams? I think that was his name. I guess he was a comedian, then he became a designer, but I'm not quite sure.
I think it's someone else. I mean, I think
it was something like that.
I think it's a woman with the same name.
Yeah, I know.
Could be the same guy. We're not sure.
You never know. But it's
think so.
I think there's a series of 2 or 3 of those that he did. They were very good. It might have been a girl. Robin could be either way. So
there's several of the non-designers web book, non-designers XYZ.
And they're really clear. They give some very good design tips, and none of them include 6-point fonts. It's all about contrast and readability and accessibility, and it just makes sense. I mean, I have griped for years on, for example, Captivate was one of my favorite griping points because when they went to version 5 and then 5.5, it was, to me, a completely unreadable interface. I mean, literally, I could barely read it.
It's much better in 6.
6 was good. Well, yeah, I helped design 6. I actually, they passed the UI stuff by me because I said, no, how about this? No. Then finally they got it. Because I was the biggest complainer. You're welcome. Yeah, I was the biggest complainer for 2 years about the UI. I said, I can't read it.
Yeah.
I can read it, but I'm really straining. Gray on light gray or light blue was just tough.
No,
And
you couldn't tell the difference. You couldn't tell the difference between the background and the item, and you couldn't tell
it was tough.
the difference between the items.
Yep, it was really tough. And they finally agreed to, yes, let's change it. And 6 interface is great. It's really readable. It's easy to work with. And
now we just got to work on their buttons for italics and bold because
those are weird.
Really do not perform well.
No, those are kind of weird too. I don't know what they were thinking on those. Not bad for Adobe, huh? Design
You'd
company.
think.
Design company.
Yeah, that one's a really tricky one too because it's not like a global thing you can change. You just have to click everything.
That's right. Well, there's cobbler's kids have no shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's.
But yeah, there are definitely things I like about it, like being able to rotate objects and
nice.
gradients and rounded corners. Oh my God.
Yeah, finally, all the things that everybody's had for years, we finally got. So that's good.
Right. Good.
Yeah,
I mean, there's tweaky things that would be nice to be fixed.
Yep, they're working on it. I know they've got a patch coming, I think, in October.
Oh, great.
So it'll be
I didn't know when it was coming.
It's a pretty big patch, and we've reported a lot of stuff. We've been working with them on hot fixes. So far the fixes are working. So this is good. We're excited for when the patch comes out. I think it'll be sometime probably before DevLearn, maybe with luck, early October. So
excellent.
My fingers are crossed. We went back to 5.5 because of certain things that we needed done, but we all love
I had to recreate something in 5 to get it to work in our LMS because
really?
So we have to use AICC. We can't use SCORM, and all of the instructions for Captivate 6 were for SCORM, and our LMS doesn't work with SCORM somehow.
You can do AICC still, I thought. In 6?
They do, but they changed how it works.
Well, they're using the Ristisi engine.
But they didn't tell anyone that they changed it.
Oh.
So you have to have it.
Okay. What
if anyone's
LMS?
looking to use AICC with Captivate 6, here's what you do.
What
you
LMS?
don't publish for HTML5.
Right.
You don't zip it. Just publish to a folder or not. It's up to you. And you will link to the index.html file, not the filename.html file.
Okay.
And it has to be on a web server for you to actually see if it published right.
Right. Yeah, there were some changes.
It can't be on your C drive or like a shared network folder.
No, it has to be. Yeah. What LMS are you on?
Plateau.
Oh, I use Plateau.
Old version.
Call me offline. We can show you workarounds. We've gotten Plateau to work with SCORM and without, even if it's AICC. Remember, it doesn't matter what it's tracking. We can talk offline about that.
The code embedded,
We've been working with Plateau for 10 years now. So
I'll have to look up what version we're on again because we just upgraded, but it's not to the most recent version.
Okay,
so.
I don't think we're on the most recent either, but call us. We've done a lot of work with Plateau. We can work you through that AICC SCORM issue.
Awesome, because I mean it.
Yeah, we've gotten.
It would be nice to be able to do either one, right?
We got 6 to track, no problem.
It works now.
In SCORM, we didn't have to go to AICC.
Oh, we've always used AICC because we could never get SCORM to work.
Oh, no, it'll work now. Now it works.
Okay.
Yep. In the older versions, you can only do SCORM 1.2. I wouldn't do 2004, but 1.2 works fine.
Okay.
Yep, all the good stuff. See, we're just getting a little bit away from visual graphics, but that's okay.
Just a little bit.
So anybody out there who uses...
We wear like 10,000 hats.
That's true. Yep. Yeah. Now, Plateau's pretty good, though. It's a good LMS.
I think the user interface for users is pretty good.
You like it? Okay.
How the administrator piece works.
Yeah. So anyway, we are about a little over a half hour into the show. Dawn, any other comments?
Well, nothing that I would publish on the
on the recording.
We'll just let that ride. Something about the gray interface, gray on gray, prison, jail.
Yeah.
I wanted to know if you had to drag your tin cup across the bars and sing "Nobody knows the trouble I've seen." So anyway, that's it. That's what's happening. Totally lost track of visual communication and graphic images.
Yeah, they're there somewhere.
Gray on gray took us away.
Oh, that's funny. Gray on gray, nobody knows.
Nobody knows. Nobody
Isn't that
knows.
one of those new E-Trade commercials? I think they've got the little boy go, nobody knows.
Let's bring back
singing
the Dad's Tie version of PowerPoint template too. That's another one that's as equally as fabulous as the gray on gray with the bright pink accents.
And Microsoft spends
tie.
millions every year to figure those colors out. Isn't it amazing?
Yeah, where they could watch this show and find out for nothing.
That's right. We could tell you. Just Fisher-Price. It's
in my personal opinion, they should take all the templates out.
Just start from a blank.
They're not very useful, frankly.
Because that would get rid of the bullet point issue real fast.
I don't think I've ever used one of their templates. They're just
I don't know. I think people would just use it as a Word document, basically, that they project on the screen. I mean, it's kind of what they're doing now. So,
True.
I don't know.
It figures out the spacing for
really...
how many levels of bullets you can do. How many are in there? 8?
At least 8. And, you do want your final bullet to be 6-point type or 3-point type, so that's important. One thing I always tell people when they join us, or if we have contractors, if you're projecting PowerPoint, put yourself about 50 feet away from it. Can you read it?
Right.
Because most people,
and don't look at it as the presenter. Don't look at it. You should have other notes.
That's right.
I mean, that screen is not your presentation notes.
Yeah, I've been guilty about that. I've been guilty in front of a big audience, looking behind me at this huge screen so I can see the PowerPoint. I have it mostly memorized. It's just I want to know what slide I'm on.
Right.
Just have an idea.
Well, that's okay. You just glance at it for a second, make sure you're advancing correctly to where you're ready to talk about it.
Well, I'll tell you, that is actually scary when you're in front of a lot of people. I was at the Adobe Design Camp last May with Kirsten Rourke, and there's about, 200-300 people in the audience, and this huge, it was, probably 100-foot screen, if not more. It was very large behind me. And I had to turn around and I went, oh my gosh, it's huge. I couldn't read it if I wanted to. I'm right on it.
It's too close.
As long as you don't talk to the screen, you're fine.
No, that's true. That's true. Well, it was talking to me, though. That's the scary part.
Oh. You're like having your own little TED Talk going on.
That's right. It felt like it, too. It's sort of scary. Yeah. It's like, wow. And I couldn't do hand puppets. It was too far away. So that was just, what use was it? It just wasn't. So, yeah.
This is a bunny.
Yeah, this is a bunny. And we were teaching audio, so that you could just make little whatever funny wave sounds with it or noises. I don't know.
I have one final question that came in. It says, Meg, how do you get people to grasp the concept of wonderfulness of the notes section of PowerPoint? Now, I personally do not ask people to use that because it just gets muddy. But do you have a solution for that or a suggestion?
Well, to be honest, I don't really work that closely with people who are going to actually present in person. But in Captivate, you have the slide notes. That's where we put our voiceover. And when we do like a publish for people to review, we do it like publish to Word. And so it has an image of the slide, and then it has the voiceover and any notes. And so I think people are kind of people that review our e-learning anyway, are used to seeing it that way, where most of the detail is in that voiceover section. And so they're okay with the slide being more visual and just like maybe a couple of key elements on the slide. We get into trouble when people want everything on the slide. And that's where you have to really
those are usually marketing departments.
Negotiation and say that's really not effective communication or learning. So, that's where you have to kind of be the consultant and do your, working with difficult SMEs kind of magic.
Yeah. Marketing departments on the whole want about 3,000 words per slide. It's rather interesting. It's like slides are at a premium. What if we break it up into 5 slides? No, we need to have that message all on the first slide.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the disclaimer slide is always like super, super long, super tiny font. You can't really read it.
That's right. Well, but it's a disclaimer, so it's okay. They've covered their behinds. That's all that counts. Yeah.
And let's insert the legal team too. Making sure that whatever, and that would be 4-point type is visible. We use the notes view just like what you were saying, Meg, for script development, but also facilitator guides that are going to be done in print. But I've also done, and most people don't know, you can change the notes view to print So it looks just like a Word document. You can put whatever visual aspects in there that you want to, and elements, and change the font. Imagine that. And have it print so that it looks just like the document. You haven't created two documents. You don't even have to send it to Word. It's kind of cool.
Right. I haven't played with that too much because honestly, I do develop directly in Captivate most of the time because the conversion to Captivate from PowerPoint actually doesn't give you editable elements. So I typically just start writing Captivate. So I don't do a lot of just PowerPoint unless I'm going to use Adobe Presenter.
Yeah, that'll do it. And actually, in Storyline, the new Storyline, anything you import that's PowerPoint, you get every single object available to you.
Right.
Which is nice.
And
Now, I thought Presenter 8, let's see, no, not Presenter. So 6 doesn't, I haven't really played with 6 on importing PowerPoint. Does it still not? I thought it gave you the objects now.
I haven't tried.
I haven't tried either.
Because we just got 6 a little bit ago. So we have like...
I think it does.
Okay, I'll try it. Because, I mean, it's just easier for like our product experts to develop right in PowerPoint. And if we can convert it and then tweak, that would be great.
Sounds good.
That would make it really easy for them.
Yeah, I mean, so we have a unique team where we have product experts that work directly with the engineering team on what's happening and what needs to have training materials developed. And they sort of start the process and do the storyboards and kind of get the script started and kind of what is the content that we need to present. And they're trainers too, so they have that mindset of being sort of an advocate for the learner. And then work together with the instructional designers and make it even better.
Yeah, that's great. Well,
into Captivate, but they're not, power users. So if they can start in PowerPoint, that will make life easier for them, I think.
Right, no extra tool needed.
Well, guess what, Meg?
Yes.
Well, we've been going on for almost 50 minutes, so we're going to call this show a wrap. You've done a great job, and you were nervous, you said, but you didn't look nervous at all.
Thanks.
You did great.
It's fabulous.
And you know what? Having Dawn on is even better because now you have a friend who already knows you. So you're not on a show. You're just hanging out with a bunch of people.
Right.
Yep. Now before
The
we
Learning
go,
Rebels unite.
That's right. Now before we go, let me show you. This is DawnJMahoney.com. So you definitely want to go there. We don't have a lower third only because our lower thirds aren't working, but it is DawnJMahoney.com.
Awesome.
So
for $18 a year, you too.
18. And for 25 cents, you can come to my blog and whatever. I'm cheap. And we've been showing your blog throughout the show, so people know how to get to you. Meg, and that was Meg Bertapelle was the guest today. Thank you so much for being on, Meg. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And Dawn, we will see you next week.
In the funny papers, yes. Thank you, Meg.
In the funny papers.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks everyone. And
Thanks,
for all
Rick.
those watching, we'll see you guys next week and have a great one. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.